In the realm where the currency of existence wasn't gold or silver, but time itself, the village of Chronos stood as a testament to this unique way of life. Here, the sands of time flowed through the hands of its inhabitants as easily as water, with every moment a commodity that could be traded, saved, or squandered. At the heart of this intricate system was Aeon, the Timekeeper. Aeon, with his ancient, intricate clockwork tools, held the sacred duty of regulating and distributing time. He was a figure of reverence and fear, cloaked in the mystery of his craft. Aeon's decisions could grant prosperity or doom, making him a solitary figure, distanced by the weight of his responsibilities. One crisp, starlit evening, as Aeon meticulously adjusted the gears of his grand clock tower, the very pulse of Chronos, he heard a soft, melodic voice that seemed to dance with the wind. Intrigued, he ventured outside, something he seldom did, and followed the captivating sound to the edge of the village square. There, beneath the luminescent glow of the moon, was Lyra, a woman with eyes as deep and endless as the night sky itself, singing to the stars. Lyra, unlike any other, had no interest in hoarding time. She lived freely, her moments spent cherishing the beauty of the now, her voice a reminder of the world beyond the ticking of clocks. Aeon, captivated by her essence, found himself drawn into her orbit, a feeling foreign and exhilarating. For the first time in his existence, Aeon wished to halt the relentless march of seconds, to savor this fragment of eternity. As days melded into nights, Aeon's visits to Lyra became his cherished secret. With her, he discovered the melodies of life that existed outside the confines of his clock tower. However, as their bond deepened, so did Aeon's inner turmoil. His duties as Timekeeper demanded impartiality, a life dedicated to the balance of Chronos, not to the desires of his heart. Yet, every moment with Lyra painted a world where time was infinite, where his heart dared to dream of possibilities beyond the tick-tock of his existence. The turning point came on a day that began like any other, with the Rising soon casting a golden hui over the valley. Aeon received a decree from the elders of Chronos, a directive that would test the very core of his being. He was to enact a time adjustment, a decree that would strip years from the already dwindling lifelines of the poor, to replenish the vaults of the affluent, ensuring the continued prosperity of the village's elite. As Aeon stood before his grand clock, the tool of his trade in hand, the weight of his decision pressed down upon him. To follow through would mean to uphold the laws of Chronos, to ensure the survival of their way of life. Yet, it would also deepen the rifts of inequality, taking from those who had little time to spare. Torn between his duty as timekeeper and the newfound desire kindled by Lyra's influence, Aeon faced the dilemma that would define his legacy. Could he carry out his duty, knowing the suffering it would cause? Or would he dare to imagine a different Chronos, one where time was not a commodity to be bartered, but a gift to be shared equally among all its people? As the sun dipped below the horizon, Aeon's decision remained cloaked in the shadows of the coming night, his heart and duty at a crossroads. The Timekeeper's dilemma was not just a choice, but a question of what it truly meant to live. Under the cloak of night, Aeon wrestled with the gravity of his choice, the gears of his mind as entangled as those in his clocks. The moonlight cast long shadows across his workshop, mirroring the turmoil within. It was then, amidst his contemplation, that Lyra appeared at his door. her presence a beacon in his sea of doubt. Lyra, sensing the storm within Aeon, offered no words, only the silent comfort of her presence. Together, they watched the stars, a tapestry of time that stretched beyond the confines of Chronos. It was in this quietude that Aeon found the clarity he sought. The realization dawned upon him that time, in its essence, was not meant to be hoarded, but experienced, a truth Lyra embodied with every breath. Empowered by this revelation, Aeon made the bold decision to challenge the status quo of Chronos. With Lyra by his side, he embarked on a journey to the heart of the village, where the elders convened. There, under the gaze of those who had shaped the laws of time, Aeon presented a new vision for Chronos, a society where time was not a commodity, but a shared wealth, where the moments of one's life were not dictated by their fortune, but by their humanity. The elders listened, their faces masks of stoicism, as Aeon spoke with a passion that belied his once measured existence. He argued for a redistribution of time, for policies that ensured no one would live in the shadow of an empty hourglass. It was a plea for the soul of Chronos, for a future where every heartbeat was valued equally. The proposal was met with a silence that stretched across the assembly, the weight of Aeon's words hanging in the air. The elders, custodians of tradition, were torn. To accept Aeon's vision would mean to upheave centuries of structure, to challenge the very foundation upon which Chronos stood. Yet, the raw sincerity in Aeon's plea stirred something within them, a remembrance of a time before. Time became currency. After what seemed an eternity, the elders convened in whispered discourse, their deliberations a murmur that filled the chamber with anticipation. Finally, they addressed Aeon and Lyra. Their decision, a testament to the power of conviction. They agreed to a trial of Aeon's vision, a temporary adjustment to gauge the viability of a more equitable distribution of time. Joy and apprehension filled Aeon's heart as the assembly disbanded. The journey ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but for the first time, there was hope for a different Chronos. As he and Lyra stepped out into the dawn of a new day, the village seemed to awaken with them, the possibility of change palpable in the air. Their first act was to address the villagers, to share the vision of a Chronos reborn. Aeon, once a figure of distant reverence, now stood before his people as one of them, his words not commands but invitations to dream. The villagers, long resigned to the inequities of their world, listened with a growing sense of empowerment. The idea of a life where their time was their own sparked conversations and debates, a ripple that promised to grow into a wave of transformation. As Aeon and Lyra worked alongside the villagers, implementing the new policies, the fabric of Chronos began to shift. Time banks were established, allowing for the donation and redistribution of time. Workshops on living in the moment flourished, led by Lyra, whose songs of freedom and joy became the anthem of the new Chronos. Yet, as with all change, resistance lurked in the shadows. The affluent, those who had thrived under the old system, saw their control slipping. Whisperings of dissent grew into murmurs of rebellion, a storm on the horizon that threatened to undo all that Aeon and Lyra had accomplished. As the first leaves of autumn began to fall, signaling the change of seasons, Aeon and Lyra stood together, watching the village they had dared to change. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges and opposition, but their resolve was unshaken. For in their hearts, they carried the belief that time, in its infinite flow, was the birthright of every soul in Chronos, a gift to be cherished, not a currency to be traded. As the leaves turned from gold to brown, the winds of change swept through Chronos, bringing with them a chill that mirrored the growing tension within the village. The trial period of Aeon's vision was in full swing, and while many embraced the new way of life, a faction of the elite plotted in the shadows, their discontent festering like an untreated wound. Aeon, aware of the brewing storm, continued his work with unwavering dedication. Each day, he and Lyra would walk among the villagers, their presence a reassuring beacon of hope. They organized gatherings, a melding of minds and hearts, where everyone, from the wealthiest to the most humble, was invited to share their fears, dreams, and aspirations for a united Chronos. However, the elite's resistance was not idle. They saw Aeon's vision as a threat to their legacy, a dilution of their power. Covertly, they began to sow seeds of doubt, whispering that the redistribution of time was an unsustainable fantasy. The chaos would ensue should the balance of power shift too drastically. These whispers found fertile ground in the hearts of those who feared change more than injustice. The tension reached its peak. One cold evening when a group of dissenters, led by a prominent figure among the elite, confronted Aeon and Lyra in the village square. Their words were sharp as knives, accusations of recklessness and naivety thrown like stones. They demanded an end to the trio, a return to the old ways, where the order of Chronos was maintained by the measured allocation of time. Aeon, standing firm in the face of opposition, chose not to meet their anger with his own. Instead, he invited the dissenters to voice their concerns at a village assembly, a place where dialogue could flourish over discord. The assembly was set for the following day, at the heart of Chronos, beneath the towering clock that had silently witnessed the ebb and flow of countless moments. The night before the assembly, Aeon and Lyra sat beneath the stars, their conversation a blend of resolve and vulnerability. They knew the path they had chosen was fraught with hardship, but they also knew that the journey towards equality and unity was worth every step, every obstacle. Lyra's voice, soft and steady, reminded Aeon that no matter the outcome, their efforts had already sown the seeds of change, a legacy that would grow long after their time had passed. The day of the assembly dawned clear and bright, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions brewing within the hearts of Chronos' inhabitants. The square was filled to the brim, every face a mirror of the village's divided soul. Aeon addressed the crowd, his voice calm yet resonant, echoing off the stones and into the hearts of those gathered. He spoke of a Chronos, where every individual's time was valued, where the wealth of moments was not hoarded but shared, enriching the community as a whole. He acknowledged the fears of the dissenters, the uncertainty that change brought, but he also painted a picture of a future where those fears were met with support, not isolation. The debate that followed was passionate, voices raised not in anger, but in the fervor of belief. For every argument against the trial, there were testimonials from those whose lives had been touched by the new policies, from elderly villagers granted additional years to young families who no longer lived in fear of time's scarcity. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the square, the assembly reached its crescendo. A vote was called, not by the elders, but by the people of Chronos, a direct decision on whether to continue on the path Aeon and Lyra had set. The count was tense, each vote a heartbeat in the silence of anticipation. When the final tally was announced, the result was clear. The majority had chosen hope over fear, change over stagnation. The trial would continue, with adjustments and dialogues to address the concerns raised, a commitment to evolve together as a community. That night, as Aeon and Lyra walked through the village, the air was filled with the sounds of celebration and contemplation. The path ahead remained uncertain, fraught with challenges, but the foundation of a new Chronos was being laid, stone by stone, moment by moment. In the hearts of the villagers, a new understanding began to take root. That time, the most precious of resources, was a tapestry woven from the threads of their collective lives, a tapestry that was richer when shared. In the aftermath of the assembly, Chronos found itself at the dawn of a new era. The decision to embrace Aeon and Lyra's vision had ignited a flame of unity, but it also cast a shadow of challenge. The road to change was paved with the best of intentions, yet it was fraught with obstacles unforeseen and trials untested. Aeon, with Lyra steadfast by his side, took to heart the task of guiding Chronos through its transformation. They understood that for the vision to truly take hold, it needed not just the support of the villagers, but also a sustainable foundation. To this end, Aeon initiated a series of workshops aimed at educating the villagers about the management and equitable distribution of time. These workshops became the cornerstone of the new Chronos, a place where every voice was heard and every concern addressed. Aeon, leveraging his deep understanding of time's intricacies, worked tirelessly to devise systems that were both fair and efficient. Lyra, with her innate ability to connect and inspire, encouraged a culture of sharing and community support, where the well-being of one was seen as the responsibility of all. As weeks turned into months, the changes began to bear fruit. The time banks, once a radical idea, became a symbol of the village's solidarity. Villagers who had extra time would deposit it, knowing it would be used to aid those in need. The sight of the elderly reinvigorated with time, gifted by their neighbors, and young families thriving without the shadow of time poverty, painted a vivid picture of what Chronos was becoming. However, the path of progress is often met with resistance. The dissenting elite, though quieter now in the face of the majority's decision, still harbored hopes of returning to the old ways. They watched, waited, and planned, seeking opportunities to undermine the new systems. Their discontent brewed in the undercurrents of village life, a reminder that the journey to change was a continuous battle against the inertia of tradition. Amidst these challenges, an unexpected problem arose. The redistribution of time, while noble in intent, began to strain the very fabric of Chronos' timekeeping. Aeon discovered that the flow of time, when manipulated too freely, could cause imbalances, affecting the natural order of things. Seasons began to blur, with winter's chill lingering into spring, and nightfall coming unpredictably. Aeon, faced with this new dilemma, delved deeper into his studies, seeking a solution that would preserve the balance of nature while maintaining the principles of equity and community. His dedication to resolving this issue was a testament to his commitment to his role as timekeeper, not just as a guardian of Chronos' laws, but as a protector of its future. Lyra, witnessing the toll that the burden of responsibility took on Aeon, became a pillar of support, reminding him that no one, not even the timekeeper, could bear the weight of the world alone. Together, they reached out to the villagers, sharing the challenges they faced and inviting them to be part of the solution. This openness fostered a deeper sense of community within Chronos. The villagers, recognizing the complexities of managing the flow of time, offered their own insights and suggestions. Innovations in timekeeping and conservation were proposed, from more precise measurement tools to rituals that celebrated the passage of time, grounding the village's relationship with time in a shared respect for its power and its limits. As Chronos navigated these challenges, the village became a living experiment in balance and harmony. The journey was not without its setbacks, but each obstacle was met with resilience and creativity. The unity forged in the face of adversity strengthened the bonds between the villagers, turning the dream of a new Chronos into a tangible reality. In this evolving landscape, Aeon and Lyra found themselves not just as leaders, but as learners, guided by the collective wisdom of a community that had chosen to step into the unknown together. Their vision for Chronos, once a fragile seed, had taken root and was blossoming into a vibrant testament to the power of hope, the strength of unity, and the infinite possibilities that lay in the shared journey of time. As the seasons cycled from spring's rebirth to the abundance of summer, Chronos blossomed under the new time-sharing system. The village, once defined by the scarcity of moments, now thrived in an economy of generosity and mutual support. Yet, with prosperity came complexity, and Aeon found himself at the helm of an evolving society that required not just maintenance, but foresight. The innovations and contributions from the villagers had indeed mitigated many of the initial imbalances. However, Aeon realized that for Chronos to sustain its newfound harmony, it would need to look beyond the present, to anticipate and adapt to the future's endless variables. In this spirit of forward thinking, Aeon and Lyra launched the Chronos Council, a collective of diverse voices from across the village, tasked with overseeing the equitable distribution of time. This council was not just a governing body, but a symbol of the village's commitment to shared decision-making. It included representatives from every stratum of society, ensuring that all perspectives were heard and valued. The establishment of the council was a milestone for Chronos, marking a transition from centralized authority to communal governance. Aeon, though still the timekeeper, served more as an advisor and mediator, guiding the council with his expertise but allowing the democratic process to shape the village's path. This transition was not without its challenges. The council faced difficult decisions, balancing the needs of the village against the finite nature of time. Debates were frequent and sometimes heated, but they were also constructive, a reflection of the village's vibrant democratic spirit. Meanwhile, Lyra took it upon herself to nurture the cultural heart of Chronos. She organized festivals and gatherings that celebrated the village's unity and diversity, events where time was not just shared, but celebrated. These celebrations became a cornerstone of Chronos' identity, a reminder of the journey they had embarked on together and the future they were building. The most significant of these celebrations was the Festival of Time, an event that marked the anniversary of the council's founding. It was a day of joy, reflection, and community, where villagers shared stories of the past year, the challenges they had overcome, and the dreams they harbored for the years to come. However, as Chronos evolved, so too did its relationship with the world beyond its borders. Neighboring villages, intrigued and sometimes alarmed by Chronos' radical departure from tradition, began to take notice. Some viewed Chronos with skepticism, wary of the implications of a society where time was freely shared. Others, however, saw hope in the model Chronos presented, a potential blueprint for addressing their own society's inequalities. Aeon, recognizing the importance of these external perceptions, proposed an outreach initiative. The council agreed, and soon, Chronos was hosting delegations from neighboring villages, sharing with them the principles and practices that had transformed their society. These exchanges were not always easy, as entrenched beliefs and fears often clashed with the ideals Chronos represented. Yet, even the most skeptical visitors could not deny the palpable sense of community and fulfillment that pervaded the village. Through these efforts, Chronos became more than just a village. It became a beacon of possibility, a living example of what could be achieved when a community united behind a vision of shared prosperity and mutual respect. Aeon and Lyra, once the visionaries behind this transformation, now watched as their roles evolved. They were no longer just the leaders of Chronos, but ambassadors of a new way of living, a testament to the power of time, when it was woven from the threads of many, rather than hoarded by the few. As the festival of time drew to a close, with lanterns lighting up the night sky and songs filling the air, Aeon and Lyra stood side by side, their hearts full. They had witnessed the birth of a new era, not just for Chronos, but for all who sought inspiration in its story. The journey ahead was still fraught with unknowns, but they faced it with the certainty that whatever challenges arose, they would meet them together, supported by a village that had learned to measure its wealth, not in the quantity of time, but in the quality of the moments shared. In the wake of the Festival of Time, Chronos found itself at a crossroads, its transformation an emblem of innovation, and its spirit, a beacon to those beyond its borders. Yet, the outreach to neighboring villages, while fruitful in spreading the ideals of shared time, also attracted the gaze of those with less altruistic intentions. It wasn't long before the equilibrium that Chronos had so carefully cultivated was tested by external pressures. The first challenge came in the guise of traders from distant lands, drawn to Chronos by tales of its unique society. These traders, accustomed to the traditional barter of goods, found the concept of time as currency both fascinating and, to some, an opportunity for exploitation. They arrived with offers of exotic goods, tempting the villagers with luxuries in exchange for the very essence of their new way of life, their time. Aeon, wary of the potential disruption these traders could bring, convened an emergency session of the Chronos Council. The debate that ensued was intense, a reflection of the village's divided heart. On one hand, the prospect of trade offered a chance for Chronos to enrich its material wealth, to bring in goods and knowledge from the outside world. On the other, there was a palpable fear that engaging too freely with these traders could erode the principles upon which their society was rebuilt. In the end, the council decided on a cautious approach, allowing trade, but under strict regulations, designed to protect the village's core values. Aeon and the council worked closely with Lyra to ensure that the cultural integrity of Chronos remained intact, emphasizing the importance of community and shared prosperity over individual gain. The introduction of trade, though carefully managed, brought about a renaissance of sorts in Chronos. The influx of new ideas and goods sparked innovation, leading to advancements in technology and artistry that enriched the villagers' lives in unexpected ways. This period of growth was a testament to the adaptability of Chronos, its ability to embrace change without losing sight of its foundational values. However, as Chronos flourished, so too did the envy of neighboring villages grow. Some admired Chronos' success and sought to emulate its model, reaching out for guidance and partnership. Others, however, harbored resentment, viewing Chronos' prosperity as a threat to their own ways of life. tensions simmered, occasionally erupting into minor disputes over trade and territory. Aeon, ever the diplomat, sought to address these tensions through dialogue, extending an offer of friendship and cooperation to all. His efforts, supported by the Council and Lyra's unifying presence, gradually began to bear fruit. A series of pacts were formed with neighboring villages, establishing a network of mutual support and exchange that promised a more stable and prosperous future for all involved. It was during this time of tentative peace that a new challenge emerged, one that tested the very soul of Chronos. A severe drought, the likes of which had not been seen in generations, struck the region, threatening the livelihoods of all the villages, including Chronos. The scarcity of water brought the issue of time into sharp relief, as villagers faced the prospect of losing not just their crops, but the very hours and days they had saved. The crisis called for a unity of purpose, greater than any before. Aeon, drawing upon the lessons of the past, proposed a radical solution: a collective pooling of time and resources to combat the drought. This initiative, spearheaded by Chronos but open to all, was a gamble, a test of the bonds between the villages and the principles upon which Chronos was built. The response was overwhelming. Villagers from Chronos and beyond came together, sharing knowledge, labor, and time to address the crisis. Together, they built irrigation systems, shared water-saving techniques, and supported those most affected by the drought. The effort was a manifestation of Aeon and Lyra's vision, a society where time was not a commodity, but a communal resource to be used for the greater good. As the drought passed and the rains returned, the region emerged stronger and more united than ever. The shared struggle had forged bonds of solidarity that transcended the boundaries of Chronos, creating a network of communities bound by mutual respect and cooperation. In the heart of Chronos, as life returned to its rhythm, Aeon and Lyra looked upon the village with a sense of quiet pride. The challenges they had faced, from the allure of trade to the threat of drought, had not weakened Chronos but strengthened it, proving that a society built on shared values and mutual support could not only survive but thrive. The legacy of Chronos, once a solitary village on the edge of change, had grown into a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of community and the transformative potential of shared time. Aeon and Lyra, once visionaries on a lonely path, now stood at the center of a movement, their dream of a better world no longer a dream but a vibrant, living reality. As the seasons turned, marking the passage of another year in the village of Chronos, the landscape of the community and its surroundings had been irrevocably transformed. The trials faced and overcome had not only solidified the bonds within Chronos, but had also woven a tapestry of alliances and friendships with the neighboring villages. The concept of time, once a rigid commodity to be hoarded and traded, had evolved into a shared treasure, a currency of kindness and cooperation that flowed as freely as the waters that once threatened their very existence. In this era of newfound prosperity and peace, Aeon and Lyra stood as the pillars of a community that had dared to reimagine the fabric of society. Yet, even as they celebrated the achievements of their village, they understood that the true measure of their success lay not in the absence of challenges, but in the strength and unity with which they faced them. The culmination of their journey was marked by the establishment of the Timekeeper'S Guild, an institution envisioned by Aeon to safeguard the lessons of the past and guide the future. The guild was to be a beacon of knowledge and wisdom, a place where the art of timekeeping and the philosophy of shared time could be studied, refined, and taught to future generations. Aeon, with the support of the Chronos Council and the neighboring communities, laid the foundations for the guild at the heart of Chronos. It was designed not as a fortress of solitude for the keepers of time, but as an open hall, welcoming all who sought to learn and contribute to the ongoing dialogue about the nature of time and community. Lyra, ever the soul of Chronos, infused the guild with the spirit of unity and celebration. She envisioned a series of festivals, not just for Chronos, but for all the villages, where people could come together to share their stories, their cultures, and their time. These festivals would serve as a living library of human experience, a testament to the diverse ways in which time touches every life. As the Timekeeper'S Guild took shape, Aeon found himself reflecting on the journey that had led him here. From the solitary guardian of time to the founder of a movement, his evolution mirrored that of Chronos itself. Yet, in his heart, he knew that the true architects of this new world were the people of Chronos, whose courage and willingness to embrace change had turned a vision into reality. The inauguration of the guild was a moment of celebration, a day when the entire region came together to mark a new chapter in their collective history. Aeon and Lyra, standing before the assembled crowd, spoke not of endings, but of beginnings, of the endless possibilities that lay on the horizon. As the festivities continued into the night, with music and laughter filling the air, Aeon and Lyra stole away to the top of the clock tower, the very place where their journey began. There, looking out over the village they loved, they made a vow. Not a vow of permanence, for they understood that time was the essence of change, but a vow of commitment, to guide, to teach, and to learn from the ever-unfolding story of Chronos. The legacy of Chronos, and of Aeon and Lyra, would not be measured in the structures they built or the policies they enacted, but in the lives they touched, and the hearts they inspired. For in the end, the true essence of time was not in its counting, but in its sharing, in the moments of connection and community that bridged the past to the future. And so, under the stars that had borne witness to their journey, Aeon and Lyra looked forward, not with certainty, but with hope. For as long as hearts beat in unison with the ticking of the clock, the spirit of Chronos would endure, a timeless reminder of the power of unity and the endless potential of shared time.